Abandoned, pregnant woman starves in a bakery until a millionaire makes an unthinkable offer. In a small, sleepy town, a bakery stood at the corner of Maple and Main, its sign barely hanging on. Sweet treats, it read, but no one seemed interested in the confections anymore. Inside, Clara sat, skin stretched over bones, eyes sunken, full of unfilled dreams. She was just 24, alone, with a baby growing inside her, and she felt hollow, like a fragile shell lost in the tide. The smell of stale bread hung in the air. Flour coated every surface, as if the ghosts of past bakers had left their mark. Clara glanced around, noticing the cracked display cases, housing pastries that had lost their charm. Her heart ached not just from hunger but from betrayal. Jake had promised her forever. Instead, he vanished with a voicemail that echoed in her mind like a cruel joke. "Clara, I can't do this anymore." Her trembling hands had spent countless hours mixing dough, hoping the act would distract her from the gnawing fear in her belly, and the isolation that crept around her like a shadow. Days blurred together. She couldn't remember the last time she had a meal that didn't leave her starving for more. Silent tears fell, mixing with the flour dust, creating a paste that felt like her hopes, sticky and trapped. But fate has a sense of drama. One rainy afternoon, as Clara needed, dull with aching wrists, the door jingled open. The figure that stepped in was cloaked in an air of mystery. Victor was a millionaire, or so the whispers said. He was an enigma wrapped in tailored suits, with sharp features that could cut glass, and eyes that seemed to hold the weight of the world. "What's a pregnant woman doing alone in a dying bakery?" he asked. A smirk quirked at the corner of his mouth. She held her breath. "Just trying to survive," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. His laughter cut through the tension. It was uncertain, like he didn't quite know how to use it. "How about I save this place from closing, and in return you help me create a line of desserts that tells your story?" Clara blinked, stupidly unsure how to respond. A bakery saved? An unconventional partnership? Her heart leaped at the idea, but so did her caution. What did Victor want in return? Was there a catch hidden in his slick grin? Days turned into frantic preparations as they began working together. Victor chipped away at her walls, slow and steady, like the rolling pin flattening dough. They discovered shared scars. Her fears of abandonment matched his ghosts of loss. But the more she trusted him, the louder the whispers grew. People eyed them from the sidewalk, speculating. Could this man be the answer to her desperate prayers? Or was he playing a game she couldn't win? Just when stability began to settle over Clara like warm honey, she stumbled upon a letter in the back room. It was yellowed and crumpled, bearing his name. Her heart raced as she opened it, the words sending chills through her. Hints of a deeper intention, secrets that sent her spiraling back into doubt. What did Victor really want? "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning." Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Clara's heart raced as she unfolded the crumpled letter. The words were jagged, like shards of glass. "Victor, I know what you're planning." The message was chilling, taunting. It hinted at deception, schemes that throbbed like an open wound. Clara's eyes darted back to the door, half expecting Victor to materialize behind her. The bakery felt smaller, the air thicker. Clara's hands trembled as she pieced the words together. "You can't keep running from your past, and I won't let you use her as a pawn." Who was the woman mentioned? And what past was Victor hiding? Panic rose like bile in her throat. The once comforting smell of bread now suffocated her. She shoved the letter back into her apron pocket. "No," she whispered fiercely, as if she could shout away the trepidation. She couldn't trust him. Not anymore, not after this. But what if he was innocent? What if this was just a twisted game? She slapped the counter. A vase of day-old flowers tipped, the glass shattering across the floor. A few blocks away, she could hear laughter and chatter from the cafe. Outside, life continued, oblivious to her turmoil. Clara? Victor's voice sliced through her thoughts. He stepped into the room, smiling. But the warmth of his expression faltered as he noticed the shards on the floor. "What did you want?" she shot back, love and hate swirling inside her like a storm. "Just checking on you," he said, stretching his arms wide as if that could encompass her pain. "I found a supplier who can bring in fresh ingredients for the new line." She didn't want to hear about ingredients. "Did you know about this letter?" He narrowed his eyes, confusion flickering across his face. "Letter? What are you talking about?" Her heart pounded. "You're hiding something. This whole partnership. What do you really want from me?" The words tumbled out raw, and she could almost taste the salt of her tears. At that moment, Victor's smile vanished. For a heartbeat, the mask slipped, and Clara was met with something darker. "Clara, let's not jump to conclusions," he said, the softness in his voice replaced by a steely edge. "We both know you're not in a position to make demands." A bone-deep chill traveled down her spine. Her instincts screamed at her to run, to escape this tangled web of betrayal and purported camaraderie. But as she stepped back, the door to the bakery swung open. It was Jake. His presence sucked the air from the room like a vacuum. He stood there, drenched from the rain, eyes wide and wild. "Clara, I came to find you." His gaze shifted from her to Victor. "What is he doing here?" The two men faced each other, tension crackling like static electricity. Clara's heart roared in her chest. Questions ricocheted around her mind. She had thought she was stranded in a world of abandonment. But what if she was caught in something more sinister? "Jake, it's not what it looks like," she said, voice trembling. Victor stepped forward, a calculated smile resurfacing. "I think it is." The words hung in the air, heavy. Clara's world began to tilt. What secrets lay tangled in this game? What motives hid behind those familiar faces? Could Victor truly be a threat? Or was Jake the real danger closing in on her? She felt the ground shift beneath her, uncertainty clawing at her. Just as the tension reached a breaking point, the peculiar smell of smoke curled through the air. Clara's stomach sank. A sudden realization hit her like a cold slap. "What's happening?" she breathed, anxiety swelling as the fire alarm began to wail in the distance. Everything was about to change. Clara's heart raced as she felt the panic rise. The smell of smoke thickened. "What's happening?" she whispered, fear tightening her chest. The fire alarm wailed like a siren, echoing in the small space, and the warmth of the bakery felt like it was slipping away. Victor's eyes darted around, the easy charm gone, replaced by a tense focus. "Stay calm," he said sharply. But how could she stay calm, with the weight of uncertainty crushing her? Jake's expression turned from surprise to horror. "We need to get out, now." He grabbed Clara's arm, urging her toward the exit. But before they could move, Clara's eyes met Victor's. A flicker of something dark passed between them. It made her stomach churn. "Victor," she shouted as fear clawed at her throat. "What did you do?" Victor stepped back, defensive. "I didn't do anything. He stopped, glancing at the shelves. "The oven!" Clara's mind raced. The oven hadn't been turned off during their meeting. If it was, the cause things could spiral out of control fast. Smoke began to curl from the back room, black tendrils creeping into the air, threatening to swallow them whole. Without hesitation, Clara dashed towards the kitchen, her lungs burning from the acrid smoke. She could feel her heart pounding in her ears. Behind her, she heard Victor and Jake yelling, but it was a muffled chaos. As she reached the kitchen, the sight sent her reeling. The oven was engulfed in flames. Fire danced wildly, licking the sides like a hungry beast. It felt surreal, like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Just then, her foot struck something on the floor. She looked down, A stack of boxes, all labeled with Victor's name. What the hell? She knelt, fingers trembling as she opened one. Inside were stacks of papers, contracts, documents, and photographs of her. Clara's breath hitched. They weren't just snapshots. They were tossed moments of her life, crammed into a box as if they meant nothing. "What is this?" she shouted, over the roar of the flames. Victor appeared, panic etched on his face. "Clara, we need to get. Why do you have these?" She held up a photo, feeling sick. "What are you hiding?" He hesitated, eyes darting between the flames and her face, shadows crossing his features. "I can explain, just no." Tears streamed down her face as realization crashed over her. "You've been watching me. This is who you really are." Suddenly, everything cracked wide open. The door to the bakery slammed open, and in rushed firefighters, sirens howling behind. The world exploded into a frenzy of voices, shouts, and chaos. Clara's eyes widened, locking onto Jake. He stood frozen, mouth slightly agape, his usual bravado stripped away. "Clara," he began, but before he could finish, one of the firefighters turned to Victor, a familiar spark igniting in his eyes. "You're not supposed to be here," the firefighter exclaimed, shock turning to anger. "You were banned from this area after." Clara's stomach dropped. Banned? From where? From what? The air felt heavy, suffocating. She glanced back at Victor, confusion mixing with fear as the picture sharpened, something sinister swirling into focus. Suddenly a loud bang echoed from the back room and Clara's body jolted. Flames erupted higher, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Heart racing, she took a step back, realizing this was just the beginning. Secrets hung in the air, thick and toxic. "Clara!" Jake cried out as the firefighters rushed past, fear slipping through the cracks of his bravado. "Get out, Clara!" Victor shouted. But his voice felt distant, as if he were losing grasp of everything that was falling apart around them. What had she stumbled into? Who was Victor really? Who was Jake? The bakery shuddered, the flames licking at her heels. With everything spiraling toward destruction, Clara had to choose. Stay in this fiery trap or leap into the unknown, where secrets danced like fire. What had she really walked into? What had Victor uncovered? With no clear path, she bolted for the exit, heart pounding, knowing she might never return to the world she once knew. Clara's heart raced as she pushed through the bakery door, smoke clawing at her throat, filling her lungs with panic. She stumbled into the rain, gasping for fresh air. The chaos of the fire behind her, fading into a distant roar. Jake and Victor surged out after her, their faces ghostly pale, beneath the flickering light of the fire glaring from the bakery's window. Shouts from firefighters echoed around them, building urgency as the world spun wildly. "Clara," Jake called, his voice tightening with desperation. "We need to get as far from here as we can." His hand gripped her arm, but her eyes were locked on Victor, whose expression had twisted into something dark, simmering just beneath the surface. "Clara, listen," Victor barked, stepping closer, his tone sharp as glass. "We need to talk about what you found." "What I found," she echoed, disbelief breaking through her shock. "You mean the boxes full of lies and your hidden truths?" Her chest felt tight, memories of their partnership flooding her mind, the warmth of their budding friendship suddenly tainted. The fire crackled louder, illuminating Victor's face, revealing the raw intensity beneath that charming exterior. "You don't understand." He stepped forward again, desperation bleeding into his voice. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect me, or keep me in the dark?" Clara shot back, her heart pounding with bitterness. The adrenaline was surging through her veins, and with it rage bubbled to the surface. Jake shook his head. "We can't do this. It's not the time," he said, glancing nervously towards the fire. But then, all at once, the world took a left turn. An explosion rumbled from the bakery, drowning out their voices. Flames erupted through the windows, shooting like mad tongues into the stormy sky. Debris launched outward, scattering across the rain-slicked pavement. "Get down." Clara threw herself onto the ground, pulling Jake with her. while Victor dove behind a nearby dumpster. The air crackled, thick with smoke and fear. Sirens blared even louder now, drowning out the chaos, drowning out everything. As Clara crouched low, her mind reeled. How had everything gone so horribly wrong? But then something shifted. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught movement by the flames. A figure emerged from the wreckage. A woman stumbled forward, coughing and spluttering. Clara's heart dropped. No, it can't be. The woman stepped into the dim light, wet hair plastered to her face. And then Clara recognized her. The woman from the letter. "Clara," the woman gasped, eyes wide. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" Clara's voice trembled, confusion clawing at her chest. "Leela." "I'm Victor's wife." Everything froze. Time itself seemed to stop, hanging in the air heavy and strange. The truth hit Clara like a freight train, the world around her fading away. Victor had a wife? The implications crashed over her like a tidal wave. "Wife?" Jake echoed, voice shaky. What do you mean?" "Victor." Leela's voice was a choked gasp. "He was supposed to protect our baby. I thought I could trust him." Clara's breath caught. "Baby?" "Clara, please," Victor yelled, rushing towards Leela, fury flashing across his features. "You shouldn't be here. You don't know what you're dealing with." Leela looked between them, panic etched into her features. "He's not who you think he is. He made promises." Dark. Promises. Clara's heart raced. The fire crackled behind them. But it was the secrets now spilling forth that ignited a new kind of blaze. Was Victor a monster cloaked in charm? What else had he hidden? "Run!" Jake pulled Clara to her feet, urgency stealing any breath she had left. But she couldn't move. She stared at Victor, whose expression was morphing, twisting, from calculated to something that looked like despair. Leela stepped closer, eyes darting, voice shaking. "You don't understand. He's been lying to us both." The walls were closing in. Everything exploded into hopeless chaos. Clara felt as if she were drowning, the flames swallowing the past and all the uncertainty that came with it. Now, as Victor's gaze bore into hers, the storm brewing around them didn't matter. The real storm lay within. Clara's mind raced. Who was Victor really? And could she even trust the woman standing before her? Was she pulling herself from one fire, only to dive headfirst into another? The truth kept beckoning, and the next step would change everything. Clara's heart pounded as she stood frozen between the two shattered truths. Victor's dark secrets and Leela's desperate plea. The chaos around her blurred. Her mind raced, torn between a broken partnership and a web of lies. "Clara, please," Victor begged, his voice tight with urgency. "I never meant for any of this to happen. You have to believe me." But each word felt like a dagger. "What did you do?" Clara's voice shook with disbelief. "What could possibly justify this?" "I loved you," Victor burst out, desperation etched into his features. "Loved? How could you love me while you're married? You've been lying the whole time." Her voice was raw, laced with frustration and pain. Behind them, the fire blazed, furious and relentless. The flames flickered dangerously close, illuminating Leela's terrified face. Clara met her gaze, desperation melding into fear. Something wasn't adding up. "Why were you watching me?" Clara shouted, turning back to Victor, her fists clenched. "Are you a monster hiding behind a mask?" "Clara, I wasn't," Victor began, but the chaos that surrounded them swallowed his words. The air crackled, filled with screams and the distant wailing of sirens. The flames behind them roared, licking at heaven in a bright, hungry fury. Then, like an unexpected bolt of lightning, a figure emerged through the smoke. "What the?" Clara's heart stopped. The silhouette stepped into the light, soaked but unmistakable. A tall man, disheveled and wild-eyed, Mason, Clara's estranged father. "Dad?" The word slipped from her lips, shock washing over her like ice water. Clara, you have to listen. Mason's voice was frantic, cutting through the chaos. They're coming for you, all of you. What? Her mind reeled. This had to be a nightmare, a twisted version of reality. Who's coming? What are you talking about? I can't explain now. We don't have time. He glanced at Leela and Victor, scrambling to make sense of it all. I tried to protect you, but I couldn't. Protect me from what? Clara stepped back, confusion battling fear inside her. You left. You disappeared. I never wanted to leave you. Mason shouted and his voice cracked. I was trying to keep the truth hidden. Victor, he's not just some millionaire. Clara's heart thudded in her chest like a war drum. What do you mean? But before Mason could answer, the fire erupted again, blasting a wall of heat between them. The air thickened, bizarrely giving way to clarity. A face twisted in pain emerged from the smoke. It was Jake. His expression was one of horror. Clara's breath caught. Jake. But instead of relief, his eyes clouded with something darker, something that stung like betrayal. Clara, we need to get out of here, he yelled, panic threading through his tone. There's too much happening. Why are you like this? What do you know? She demanded, confusion and frustration wrapping around her heart. Jake glanced at Victor and Lila, his expression morphing, revealing too much. I didn't choose any of this. Choose what? Clara's fingers trembled. Victor's voice sliced through. He's not who he says he is. None of us are. Everything twisted and churned around her, spinning wildly. The flames were screaming, and the truth was suffocating. But then, before anyone could respond, a loud crashing noise shattered. The moment, a part of the ceiling fell, raining debris as the structure groaned. Run! Mason shouted, panic surging through them. The world descended into chaos. Leela cried out, and Victor lunged forward, the fire raging behind them. Clara barely had time to process, and in that instant, Clara realized everything was unraveling. Mason's sudden appearance and his frantic warnings painted a chilling picture. Who was in danger? Who was really who they claimed to be? The fire grew, and the bakery teetered on the edge of oblivion. Time slowed as they faced the inferno. Secrets hung thick in the smoke-filled air, threatening to suffocate her as they struggled to move. What was the truth? Could it be buried beneath the ashes? Just as she turned to flee, Mason grabbed her wrist. Clara, you need to remember your past holds the key. Don't forget, he gasped, urgency lacing every word. And with that, the fire roared even louder, drowning their voices. What had she forgotten? Grabbed by urgency, Clara dashed forward, heart racing, not toward safety but guided by a rush of fear and uncertainty. What else waited to be uncovered? As she stepped into the night, shadows loomed large. Everything around her felt like a dangerous dream where nightmares crept beneath the surface. She had to know, had to understand. Did the truth lie in the flames, or within herself? Clara stumbled into the night, heart racing, the heat from the fire dwindling. As she moved away, the rain fell hard around her, soaking her clothes, mixing with the fear coursing through her veins. Jake, Leela, and Mason were all shouting behind her, voices muddled by chaos. Each breath tasted of smoke and desperation. Clara, Jake shouted, running to catch up to her. His expression was wild, fear etched deep into his features. We have to get out of here. She wanted to run, but a part of her was stuck, glued to the moment that had just unraveled. The piece of her father's warning echoed in her mind. Your past holds the key. But what did it mean? Suddenly, an ear-splitting crack rang out, a loud bang that came from the bakery that had suddenly turned into a hellfire. A part of the roof collapsed, throwing sparks into the rainy air. Clara turned just in time to see a dust cloud settle amid the flames. Clara, please. Mason's voice broke through. We don't have time. But something caught Clara's eye, something unsettlingly familiar. Shadows danced among the flames, twisting and writhing in a horrifying manner. Could there be someone left inside? The thought made her blood run cold. Wait, she yelled, trying to peel herself away from the overwhelming fear. What if someone is still in there? You can't go back. Jake shouted, grabbing her arm. "We'll die out here. Someone is trapped." The words burst from her lips, sharp with panic. Suddenly, the ground shook, a thunderous rumble breaking through the night. Clara gasped as a hidden trapdoor at the bakery's entrance burst open, revealing a spiral staircase leading down. Shadows flickered at the edge of the darkness below, and the air was thick with a strange hum. "What the hell?" Clara whispered, caught between the flames and the secrets brewing beneath. She had never seen that door before. Victor emerged from the haze, urgency lining his face. "No, Clara, you can't go down there. We need to leave." "Leave?" she cried, hurt and confusion swirling inside her. "You brought me into this mess." Then, without warning, a woman burst from the shadows beneath the bakery, panic-stricken and wild-eyed. Clara's breath hitched as she recognized her, the woman from the letter, the one tied to Victor's hidden past. But it was her next words that made the ground shift beneath Clara's feet. "I didn't want you to find out like this," the woman gasped, struggling to catch her breath. "I'm your mother." "Mom?" Clara's voice shattered, the words splitting her world into pieces. "No, that can't be." "Yes, I tried to protect you." The woman stumbled forward, hand raised as if to bridge the chasm of lost time. "I never meant to leave. You were taken from me." The truth slammed into Clara like a freight train, leaving her gasping. Everything she thought she knew shattered like the glass around her, each shard piercing her reality. Taken? By who? Victor, he was never just some millionaire. "Mom, stop!" Victor shouted, eyes aflame with fear and anger. "This has to end now." But Clara could feel her world crumbling. Jake and Lila remained frozen, capturing the moment like stillness amid a storm. Victor stepped closer, but Clara could only see the woman's face. The years flooded back, every memory, every abandoned hope. Just then, from the depths of the spiral staircase, a figure emerged, shrouded in shadows. A face she recognized too well. Someone she thought lost to time. Her sister. "No!" Clara screamed, feeling like a thread was about to snap. "This isn't happening." Clara stood there, surrounded by looming pasts and heartbreaks, fighting. The rush of chaos. Who was lying? Who was telling the truth? And then the flames roared again, louder, transforming into a force of nature, a reminder that time was running out. With her mother before her and an unexpected family member emerging from the darkness, Clara stood at the edge of everything she knew, held hostage by secrets, a raging fire, and unanswered questions. Who truly controlled her fate? Clara stood there, heart pounding, a whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. The truth of her mother's identity clashed violently with the chaos of flames behind them. "No," she gasped, barely able to process what she just heard. "You can't be my mother. I had to stay away. It was for your protection," her mother pleaded, tears streaming down her face, mingling with the rain. But Victor surged forward, eyes burning with urgency. "Don't listen to her, Clara. She's lying." He looked at Lila. "Get her out of here. She doesn't know what she's saying." "Lying?" Clara threw her hands up, every word laced with fury. "You've been hiding everything, and now suddenly she's lying? Please, you need to get away." Lila's voice cracked, her gaze darting nervously toward the blazing bakery. But it was too late. The ground trembled beneath them. An explosion ripped through the structure, spewing debris into the street like a violent volcano. Clara stumbled back, instinctively shielding her face. When the dust settled, she saw them, figures in black uniforms rushing towards the chaos. Hooded bodies, shrouded in mystery, moved with a purpose. For an instant, time stood still. "What's happening?" Clara whispered, fear constricting her throat. The air was thick with a strange tension as the hooded figures reached the entrance of the bakery, hands brushing against concealed weapons. "Clara, you need to run," Mason barked, panic lining his features. But at that moment, everything flipped. One of the hooded figures ripped off their mask, revealing a face that sent shockwaves through Clara's mind. It was someone she recognized, deep down, and her pulse surged. It was her sister, Olivia. The sister she thought died years ago. Olivia, Clara gasped, taking a reflexive step back.
You? But I thought. Surprise! Olivia's voice was laced with both relief and desperation. We don't have time to explain. You need to trust me. Clara felt her mind spiral. Trust you? You've been gone. From behind them, the flames danced higher, collapsing the remnants of the bakery, like an ancient beast consumed by its own hunger. But Olivia wasn't finished. We were taken, Clara. Mom tried to protect you, but it's bigger than us now. I set all of this in motion. You and I, we're not just daughters. We're part of something far more dangerous. What do you mean? Clara felt herself sway, the world feeling all too heavy. Secrets swirled in the chaos, threads of truth that suddenly snapped taut. Victor stepped forward, eyes wide with disbelief. You don't know what you're messing with. You can't trust her. She's part of this entire nightmare. The word nightmare hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. Clara's heart raced, each beat a reminder of her fractured family and the truth that stared right back at her. And behind her, Jake shouted, Clara, we can't stay here. We need to go. His expression was raw, torn between his past and a future that felt precarious. But Clara was caught in a tempest of fear and clarity, one where everything hung on the next words spoken. What are you saying, Olivia? What has Victor done? Her sister moved closer, urgency dancing in her eyes. You have to understand, the only way to stop this is to confront the truth together. He's been manipulating everything. Your father, the fire, all of it. And just then, the flames roared like a creature awakened, reminding Clara of the danger they faced. Confusion twisted into clarity. Could she trust Olivia after all this time? And was Victor the evil he seemed? Or was he tied into something far deeper and darker? A loud crash shattered her thoughts, followed by a fierce gust of wind that swept through the chaos. The flames shifted, drawing attention as Clara realized a figure was emerging from the shadows, someone who played a role she'd never expected. Then she paused, eyes locking onto that familiar face. Victor's expression shifted, a sudden coldness sweeping over him as he locked eyes with the newcomer. No, he shouted, voice dropping to a hiss. Joy turned to panic, and as shadows converged, Clara realized everything she thought she knew was about to unravel. Who are you? She demanded, voice trembling as she faced the newcomer. Everything spun toward chaos as Clara stood on the brink of truth. Secrets collided, relationships twisted, and as the fire danced around her, one question burned brighter than the rest. Who could she trust when the truth evolved like a flame? The newcomer stepped into the dim light, and everything stopped. Clara's heart raced as she recognized the familiar face. A twist of fate draping over her like a shroud. Victor's expression morphed from intense determination to sheer horror. Evelyn, he whispered, voice trembling as if it could shatter. Surprise, the woman said, biting sarcasm lacing her tone. The rain poured around her, but the warmth of recognition shone oddly bright. I'm back. Clara felt a rush of confusion and disbelief. She had thought Evelyn dead, gone from their lives, a shadow of the past. Memories tried to claw their way back. Arguments, tears, loss. Evelyn had been Victor's first love, but she had never imagined the impact of this moment would shake her world again. You shouldn't be here, Victor shouted, panic tightening his chest. His eyes darted around, face painted with dread. Evelyn stepped forward and every word seemed to crack the air. I came back for Clara, she said, locking eyes with her. You're my daughter. What? The world spun on its axis, emotions spiraling out of control. Clara's hands trembled at her sides, and the truth reverberated through her. No, you can't be serious. Each word was a thunderclap in her mind, disbelief roaring louder than the flames. All those years, I had to stay away to keep you safe. Evelyn's voice wavered, clutching on to her resolve.
Tears glistened in her eyes as the weight of her past hung heavy between them. Your father, Mason, he didn't want me. I didn't want you to put her.
At risk, Mason shouted from the side, raw with emotion.
This isn't how it was supposed to be.
Fire flickered behind them, shadows twisting wildly, but Clara felt more consumed by the revelations of her lineage. Her mind was racing, thoughts colliding like wrecking balls, her heart pounding in her ears. It couldn't be true, could it? Please, just listen, Evelyn cried, stepping closer, reaching out. You don't know the whole story yet. It's not just Victor. It's bigger than us.
What do you mean? Clara's voice trembled, caught between the curling flames and the storm of confusion. What could be worse?
Victor stepped forward,
eyes flashing with anger.
You have no idea what you're getting into.
You think
I was the villain? There are forces you can't comprehend. Suddenly, the ground shook as an explosion thundered through the night. A fierce burst of fire erupted from the bakery's front, debris raining down as screams echoed around them. Clara ducked, instinctively grabbing Jake's arm. "Get down!" she shouted. But in the chaos, Evelyn grabbed Clara's hand. "No one is safe. We're connected in ways you can't imagine," she yelled, urgency threading through her voice. "They will come for all of us." Clara's world fractured completely. Everything she thought she knew shattered. Jake's eyes widened, panic etched on his face. "Clara, we have to go now." But Evelyn held on tighter. "You have to embrace your power. You don't even know who you are." "What do you mean?" Clara screamed, heart racing faster than the flames consuming her childhood. Victor shot back at Evelyn, bold and cutting. "Stop saying things you can't take back. You'll only bring them closer." And just then, a figure emerged from the shadows behind them, a dark silhouette creeping forward. Clara turned, eyes wild with fear. It was one of the hooded figures, charged with purpose, weapons drawn. "Get away from them!" the figure shouted. Voice low and dangerous, as the storm howled around them. Clara reeled back, the weight of the moment crashing down. "Who are you?" she demanded, confusion sickening her. "We're here to collect what's ours," the figure replied, voice dripping with malice. In that instant, everything spiraled out of control. Clara staggered back, heart racing, secrets twirling like smoke. Were they after her? Was she truly part of something dark? Did the scars of her past define the present? Then a loud bang echoed, and Clara felt that deep chill cling to her bones. The person she thought she knew best might have been leading her all along into a nightmare she never saw coming. As the world roared around her, she was left gasping, the flames casting shadows on all their truths. With so many secrets tumbling and spinning, she had one pressing question. What had she actually been brought into? Clara stood frozen, her heart racing, as the hooded figure emerged from the shadows. The chaos around her faded into a distant roar. Evelyn, Victor, Lila, and Jake all turned, surprise etched on their faces. Each reaction different, but all filled with dread. "Get away from my daughter," the figure shouted, pulling off the hood to reveal a familiar face Clara hadn't seen in years. Her mother. "Mom?" Clara gasped, every breath feeling like it was stolen from her. Confusion rewired her thoughts, making it hard to focus. "I thought you thought I was dead," Evelyn interrupted, voice cracking with a mix of relief and fear. "They took me from you both." "Who's they?" Clara asked, her pulse thrumming loudly in her ears. Everything was unraveling. The truth she hungered for felt like a storm, churning and brewing, ready to explode. "Clara, listen," her mother said, stepping closer. "Your father, he was a part of something dangerous, an organization that's been after us for years. And you kept me in the dark?" Victor's voice dripped with venom. "You think you can just come back and take control after everything?" "Control?" Evelyn scoffed, panic igniting the air between them. "I did this for you, all of you. They're coming for us, and you're standing in the way of your own safety." Clara's mind raced. Nothing made sense. Flames licked the bakery behind them, smoke curling up into the night. She could barely breathe, swallowed by The weight of her past, her heart caught between her parents' words. "Mom, if they were after you, why did you leave me?" Clara shouted, voice rising above the chaos. "Because I needed to keep you safe from those who would use you." Her mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears, the electric tension crackling between them. From the sidelines, Lila's voice rang out, breaking the tension. "Clara, this isn't the time. We have to go." But just as she turned, a loud explosion echoed from behind, and the bakery shook beneath their feet. Debris flew through the air, and Clara was thrown against a wall, the impact knocking the breath from her lungs. "Clara!" Jake shouted, rushing to her side, his face pale and terrified. "I'm fine," she gasped, shaking her head, but her thoughts were still a haze. Questions spiraled. Her mother, Victor's dishonesty, the shadows closing around them. Then the unthinkable happened. The hooded figure, her mother, turned toward Victor, voice cold as ice. "This is your fault, Victor. You promised to protect her." "I tried," he shouted back, desperation cracking in his voice. "I never knew they'd come for her, too." Come for who? Clara's head spun, a ferocious wind swirling around them like a tempest. The fire raged, filling the air with smoke and ash. She felt like a pawn on a chessboard, used by everyone around her. And then, it clicked. The truth twisted everything. "Are you saying I'm the target? Because of who I am? Because of you?" "Clara, no," her mother shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You don't understand what you're part of. Your father kept this secret to protect you." But before she could finish, a gunshot rang out, blaring through the night. Time seemed to freeze as Clara turned, eyes widening. The shot had come from one of the hooded figures now charging toward them. "I'm sorry," Victor screamed, throwing himself in front of Clara, but it was too late. Not seconds later, another gunshot rang, hitting him square in the chest. He collapsed, crumpling into darkness, and the world shattered around Clara. "Victor!" Lila screamed, rushing toward him, panic crashing over her like a wave. "No, no!" Clara shook her head in disbelief, tears streaming down her face. "What just happened?" "Run!" her mother shouted, urgency piercing through her voice again. But Clara felt like she was trapped in a nightmare, pain and chaos spinning around her like a cyclone. As they all fled, a terrifying realization crashed over Clara. The lines of loyalty blurred. Which side was she on? And what dark truth loomed ahead? The woman at her side was her mother, yet everything about her screamed betrayal. As fewer and fewer steps got them further away, Clara turned her gaze back, wondering if they could run from what was lurking behind them. The storm wasn't just in the sky, it was in her heart. She had unwittingly stepped into a war that could consume them all. Would she be the next target? Could her own mother be part of the threat? The flicker of light from the smoldering bakery faded as they hurried into the shadows, leaving behind a world that was nothing like the one she once knew. Clara stared in disbelief, the weight of the last few moments crashing upon her like a tidal wave. Victor lay crumpled on the ground, his breath shallow as Lila desperately checked for a pulse. Evelyn's expression shifted from fierce to shattered, her heart caught in the storm of realization. "No, Victor, please," Lila cried, tears streaming down her face. But the chaos roared louder around them, the fire dancing with glee. "Clara, we have to move," her mother urged, tugging at her arm. But Clara stood rooted, urgency battling with confusion and pain. Suddenly, Jake gripped her shoulder. "Clara, we need to get out of here now. We can't wait for him." "But what about him?" Clara's voice trembled, losing the fight against her emotions. "He was trying to protect me, wasn't he?" "Protect," Evelyn spat, a mixture of anger and sorrow distorting her features. "He played with lives. You heard him. This was bigger than love or family." Clara's gaze darted back to Victor, shadows looming, adrenaline pumping through her veins. This was the man who had promised to help her, who had claimed to understand her struggles. And now he lay there, a ghost of the promise he'd made. A loud crash erupted, dust and debris swirling around them. Clara's heart raced anew. "Mom, what do we do?" "We fight back," her mother exclaimed, voice fierce as she grabbed Clara's hand. "We unite. We cannot allow them to win this battle." "Who are they?" Clara demanded, desperation clawing at her throat. "You have to tell me everything, now." But before her mother could speak, more hooded figures surged from the shadows, weapons drawn, eyes glinting like knives. The crowd of chaos behind Clara shrieked, the urgency exploding around them. "Move!" Jake shouted, pulling Clara and Lila toward a less illuminated alley. The night air was thick with fear and smoke, danger pressing against them with every heartbeat. "How can I trust anyone?" Clara exclaimed, her breath coming in shallow bursts. "Everything I thought was real has been twisted. My own family deceived me." But Evelyn squeezed her hand tighter, grounding her in that moment. "You're stronger than you think, Clara. Remember who you are. You can break free from this web of lies." Clara swallowed hard, memories flooding her mind. The mix of love and betrayal, the laughter echoing through childhood, the shadows creeping in. "You don't understand. I want to believe you, but Clara," Jake's voice broke through. "This isn't the time for hesitation. We need to work together. Set your differences aside." This moment felt like a fever pitch, flames raging behind them. Clara nodded, determination igniting in her heart. "Together," she echoed softly. As the figures advanced, her mother stepped in front of her, shoulders squared. "You will not take my family again." Clara watched, every instinct warning her. This was it, the moment she would confront everything. As fierce as the flames, she found her voice, raw and powerful. "No more running. I won't be afraid anymore." In an instant, adrenaline surged as a swirling cacophony exploded around them. The flames roared back, illuminating the shadows. Then Clara spotted something, a shard of glass glimmering in the moonlight from the fallen debris. She picked it up, gripping it tight. "We fight back! Let's unite!" Evelyn shouted, determination flooding her voice as she stepped alongside Clara. The fear behind them morphed into a collective fury, a shield against the coming storm. "Together," Clara repeated, her heart pounding like war drums, unified by purpose. This was no longer about surviving. It was about reclaiming her story, facing it together with her family. As shadows surged forward, Clara let the flames guide her. She was ready to face the truth, ready to reclaim her fire. The past had shaped her, but it would not define her future. With fierce resolve, they charged into the darkness, knowing that the fight for their lives had only just begun. A flicker of hope stirred deep within her, a possibility, a family reclaimed. Clara felt alive, fierce, and unyielding as the night became theirs to command. This is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe right now to make sure you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and help us bring more amazing content your way. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. What do you think happened next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your engagement truly matters.